Hey, everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom, the program that is focused for the foreseeable future on talking about things in the church that shouldn't be in the church. I see a lot of people have tuned in, and it's very, very much appreciated. I want to highlight the first comment of the night from Catherine that says Joni needs to resign, and that gives me a good reason to begin by stating the title of this episode, Joni Lamb Resigns, question mark. Now, when you place a question mark at the end of a phrase, it means that you're asking a question. So I'm not making the statement that Joni Lamb has resigned. So alleged opinion entertainment out of the way. However, I will ask this question or state the phrase this way as a question. Should Joni Lamb resign? Or maybe we will restate the question, maybe tighten it up a little bit. Why shouldn't Joni Lamb resign? Now, I have, this is a small little channel from Cincinnati, but the Lord has allowed some of the information or some of the content that we've posted to have some voice in this discussion. On Friday, the program that I did that had to deal with a couple of lawsuits that had been sealed and that were unsealed. I think about 150,000 people have seen that. Now, there's several reasons for that. One is obviously the subject matter. Another would be the timing. It was a Friday night on a Thanksgiving weekend. So trust me, nobody is getting a big head, but nonetheless, we've been allowed to weigh in to a degree. And so we're going to continue to weigh in. And once again, I will restate of the question, why shouldn't Joni Lamb resign? And I believe that as we go through this tonight, you'll be able to formulate your answer for that. I already know my answer to that. And at the very end of the program, I'm going to ask yet another question that has not been asked by anyone as yet. And I want to take just a moment. And I am on a short leash. The lovely wife and I have kind of a knife or a quiet night planned. She's letting me interrupt that a little bit. And so y'all know I'm not good at being brief, but tonight I'm really, really, really going to try. But I want to say hi to Kimberly, who's really regular showing up. Kimberly, very much appreciated. Alive 25, Kimberly Wittrock. Can't see everybody here. Hey, Jude, you're there. Active 25, I think I said. And Laura's there. So we'll get started. Folks, I'm going to make two announcements, and then we're going to get into some content. One is this Thursday. It's like 95% confirmed if scheduling permits. But this Thursday at 7 Eastern, I should be joined by Pete and Barry from the Trinity Foundation. Now, Pete and Barry are the two investigators, licensed private investigators that head up Trinity Foundation. And they just have an awful lot of information that the body of Christ really needs to get on top of. They've been working away faithfully for years, and yet their work is more important now than ever. And so they should be joining us if things permit. And if it doesn't happen this Thursday, it'll happen very shortly after that. But we're shooting for 7 on this Thursday, and I can't tell you the date. I don't know that much. The other thing that I wanted to mention tonight is that on Sunday, not this week, but next Sunday at 6 o'clock, I believe for 3 weeks, I have been dealt with to put into a 2 or 3 format, 2 or 3 section, like 3 pieces, part 1, 2, and 3. Haven't finished them yet, but dealing with the truths about the secrets of Solomon and how they relate to this year of 2024. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of parallels that help us interpret what we've been through already in 2024. But if you will go through this information regarding Solomon, I think a lot of things will just become clear. And so I don't do this a lot, but I'm going to play a clip from a presentation that I did right at the end of October of this year called The Secrets of Solomon. And I played a clip of myself that Laura Lynn played on the last program. And here I am playing a clip of myself on this program. I don't want to get into a habit of doing that, but I want to play that. And then I want to really encourage you to find that video and Watch it when you have a chance. Here we go. The same man that built the temple of the Lord built the temple of Ashtoreth, Chemosh, Milcom, and Molech. Let that sink in. And compare that to the day that we're in. Because we look at someone, I think especially going back to the height of the TV days, this is just my opinion, but we would look at somebody, and if they were big and successful, well, they could only be big and successful if they were doing everything right. And if they were doing everything right and preaching what seemed like a good message, then everything had to be right. And so we kind of never questioned anything. We look past red flags because, and maybe it is a generalization. Maybe it's too much of a generalization, but we thought if it looks good, it has to be squeaky clean from top to bottom. Just has to be, because otherwise, how else could all these things be done? These great stadium crusades and all these television stations and all this stuff. Okay, so that's a little bit of that, folks. I just ask you this. Here's a question for you. Who built the temple of Moloch in Israel? The answer is Solomon. And Solomon also built the temple of the Lord. So I would encourage you, you can go back on my channel, go into the lives, and it's called Secrets of Solomon. That'll be a good place to start, but I'm going to put this in a 2 or 3 part format, and I just believe it'll help you. I believe it'll help you. It ain't about my presentation, it's just about some truth there. And then there was a comment that and I'm trying to get rolling here, but there was a comment that I wanted to, and they're coming in quick. So, but if I could, I just had it on the screen. Daystar seems like a rerun of Jim and Tammy. Well, that's just the point. That's just the point. It would seem, opinion, that when things get to this point, listen, I will state my opinion right now, and then we're going to get into the content. I said like 2 programs ago, I'm not even sure we need Christian TV. If one thing that you've noticed, if you think about this way, when the COVID narrative hit and all of that stuff hit and a lot of other things attacked America, was it mainstream media that helped us? Was it mainstream media that saved us? Was it mainstream media that gave us the truth? No, it was alternative media. And it's interesting that that's what we're kind of seeing in the Christian space. So listen, this morning I awoke to the knowledge that Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, who is the Canadian broadcaster that I believe now lives in the United States, who pulled her program from Daystar. She played a clip of mine on this Monday program, which again, it just kind of freaked me out, but I mean, nothing wrong with it. It's just like, whoa. But she was recognizing all these little voices like this one that are chiming in when the big voices are staying completely silent. But she has on her YouTube channel right now a 2-hour interview with Jonathan and Suzy Lamb. If you haven't gone there and seen it, you really, really, really want to see that interview. I'm going to play about 4 or 5 clips from it. I took this morning about 15. We're not going to go through 15 clips, but I really want to encourage you to go and view that content. And it just busts the fake Joni Lamb, fake Daystar narrative. It just busted into shards. And so check that out. And I'm going to play the first clip that I had grabbed, and I've got these kind of in order. And I'm going to play this first one, and then we're going to talk about it.
2 days later, November 18th, 2023, we get a call from Miss Denise Boggs. And in that call, she tells us, and now this is the first time we ever knew this fact. She tells us that Pete had never been cleared by Miss Debbie Leonard, the forensic counselor. And so this sent a complete shock into Suzy and me because, again, my father had sat me down back in August of 2021, and he said that Pete had been cleared and he was innocent by this forensic counselor. To find out my father had lied, and it was just a shock. And again, my father, like, I would never want to dishonor him. I think he was an incredible man of God. Obviously, he built an incredible network. God used him mightily. He saved many people. But the one weakness it seems like he had well, he obviously had one moral failing, obviously, with my mother, but besides that, the one major weakness he had was that he wanted to protect the billion-dollar empire at the expense of my daughter. And again, I could see maybe how he could think that's the greater good. You have this mega empire that's reaching billions of people. You don't want that to be tarnished with the thought that one of the family members could have essayed, his grandchild. But the fact that he didn't want to find out the truth, that he shut down the investigation, was obviously just completely shocking and troubling. And I believe that God, he's a righteous God.
Your family.
Okay, so folks, can you imagine how difficult it is? I will tell you, you need to go see this interview. And I will tell you, I already had a lot of respect for Jonathan and Suzy, but I will tell you, you watch this interview in particular, you will absolutely fall in love with this young couple, and you will feel for them, and you will empathize for them. I'm telling you, but a place that Jonathan would find himself in, where even in this interview, he is speaking with love and honor and respect for his dad while he's telling the entire world that his father lied to him. His father lied to him and said that Pete had been cleared, that Pete had gone through the process and had been, the implication would be that he'd been interviewed by this forensic investigator, this psychologist, and to say in front of the whole world that my father lied to me, and then kind of going towards building the case of why shouldn't Joni Lamb resign? Well, hello, as the wife of Marcus Lamb, she knew that that was a lie. And I'm just asking the question, doesn't it mean, this is a question, doesn't that mean when Joni Lamb would even still look her expensive cameras in the eye, once she's looking at the right one that her camera cue person is telling her to look at, and say that nothing was covered up, isn't that a lie, ladies and gentlemen? And in the state of Texas, like virtually every other state that I'm aware of, if you have knowledge of the suspicion of abuse, sexual abuse, particularly in the area of a minor, aren't you commanded, aren't you obligated by law to report that? Did that happen? I don't think so. And so that knowledge that you have when the reins have been turned over to you and you are now the CEO of the largest Christian network in the world, my question is, and you covered it up, my question is, why shouldn't she resign? Why shouldn't she resign if, in fact, she covered it up? And I have a certain opinion about that. I'm going to just try to move through these and offer a little bit of commentary. Now, folks, as I am bringing this next clip up, I normally post a link in the comments and say that if you'd like to support the program financially, you can go to that link. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to ask you something, though. I'm going to ask if you would pray and see if the Lord would have you contribute something to Pastor Ray Curry at the Unction. For full disclosure, we planted a contribution in Pastor Ray's ministry early this morning. This is a little unusual. I don't know Pastor Ray. We don't have a bromance. We finally exchanged about a one sentence email, but on his last program, he did say that he was looking at going to Texas. Maybe he wants to interview Joni Lamb or some board members, or maybe Jonathan. I don't know, but I really think it would be a good idea that if you're able, I don't care if it's whatever amount, if you could go. And so I'm going to post this link right now. I'm going to post, and it's just Pastor Ray's YouTube channel. If you go there, you can find it and you can find the link. And I'm just really strongly encouraging you. If there's something that he needs to do related to this, then you ought to have a war chest to do that. So I'm going to play this clip, and then then we're going to talk about it. And here we go.
That's the crazy part. In October, she came over to our house for my birthday, hugged me, kissed me, told me how much she loved me, even though she had fired me. We were just in a pattern of, I'll hug you and tell you I love you. And I thought maybe God is doing something in her heart. Mm-hmm. And then the next day is when our friend told us at the restaurant, she said this about me. And that's when God started teaching me about I love you, how it's used to control people, but it has no worth to it. I'll close on this with, at that point, I started to realize, okay, God, this is God bringing up some things. So there was a deep part of me that had been waiting to ever hear from Debbie, because I wasn't allowed to talk to her when it was shut down. So I always, deep in my spirit, was like, someday maybe, or something else will happen. So when that call did come from Miss Denise in November, as much as I was hurt and shocked at the cover up, I had the peace that this is the Lord's battle, and and God is not letting this rest, because He has a full set. And I still am in a place, because we haven't seen the fullness of God's plan. This has all been brought to the surface. Yes, our focus is more on exposing the cover up.
Okay, the real payoff in that clip was in the very, very beginning. And what was happening in the very beginning was that at one point, Joni had come over and was spending time. I don't know what that did. Let's get out of that. How do we get out of there? There we are. And forgive me here. But she said that her mother-in-law came over and gave her a kiss, and was talking all nice and lovey love and dovey dove and all of the rest. And then the next day was talking to a number of pastors, one of which called Suzy and informed Suzy that her mother-in-law, who had kissed her the night before, was calling her Jezebel and was really running her down. And the moment I heard that, I, just like you, I couldn't help but think of Luke 22. This is Jesus in the garden. While he was still speaking, a crowd arrived, led by the man called Judas, one of the 12. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? I mean, just unbelievable, folks. Judas, up until that moment, had done everything else that all the other disciples had done. But I want to just keep this moving here, because I am on a short time lease. And then this is actually very, very, very bombshell. I'll play it, then we'll explain.
Before, back when she was married to my father, she was probably one of the strongest people when it came to her conviction and believing and fighting for marriage and doing whatever it takes. And obviously my mother endured horrible affair by my father, I think for about a 7-year period. And she had every...
Now, I'm going to let that clip play, but let me just say right there, that's Jonathan Lamb. And in the program that I did Friday of last week, where I read from the 2 lawsuits, in the lawsuits, it says that, and I've looked for the clip on Good Morning America, and I believe some of this has been taken down, so all you can find is little edited snippets. But on that blitz that the Lambs went on the 30th of November of 2010, followed by an appearance on Dr. Phil, and then followed by an appearance on Good Morning America, in the lawsuit, it says that they referred to that affair as a brief affair. And on TV, Joni Lamb said there was an emotional relationship that turned improper. So there's kind of a soft pedaling into the situation, eventually kind of acknowledging that, yeah, there was sort of, and she called it an inappropriate. It wasn't an inappropriate relationship. It was a 7-year affair, according to what Jonathan evidently believes. But folks, what I'm saying is it is my opinion, my alleged entertainment opinion, that Marcus Lamb and Joni Lamb flat out lied to the body of Christ and to the church at large and to the Daystar family and to the entire world. And that is kind of a pattern. So this young man is having to admit that his father lied to him about Pete and the investigation. And by admitting that there was, in his understanding, a 7-year affair, whether he realized it or not, he's also acknowledging that his dad, who he honors as a great man of God, but his dad lied to the entire world. I find that very, very, very noteworthy. I'm going to let the rest of the clip play.
Right to leave the marriage, in that case, biblically, because of the adultery. And she made the decision to fight for her marriage. And that was so honorable. And obviously God blessed her many times over for that decision. So it's just sad to see that that's where she was then, and to now. It's sad to see how she's changed her stance on that.
Oh, I mean, it is sad to see, and I just want to keep the program moving because today was a very difficult. Oh, here's another bombshell! Bombshell alert! Bombshell alert! Let's get this out of the way.
The moment for me when I truly realized that this is not the God I serve, is not here, is the day that Joni came over. It was Jonathan, me, and JW. We were about to watch the Cowboys game, and Joni was angry and said, Doug is in Colorado, and his ex-wife, had been begging him all day to reconcile and to choose her, and then Joni was like, "Yo, he makes me want him more. Shows me what a great husband he'll be."
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there like, I really cried out to God.
I'm going to interrupt this one too. She's describing a time, and what would the timetable be? 2023 or no, 2022? But and we're going to go through a clip where Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson does a really good job of outlining a timeline, and so that'll kind of speak for itself. But while there was Doug Wise's divorce, I believe, was final, but his wife is literally begging him to come back just a few months after, and Joni Lamb's reaction first of all, that's bombshell. Because how is it abandonment, Mr. Jimmy Evans, when Doug Weiss's ex-wife, who you never talked to, Mr. Marriage XO expert, you never talked to, you never interviewed, you didn't look into it. So how is it abandonment, Mr. Jimmy Evans, when she is begging her husband to come back? And Joni Lamb is spinning that, he's going to be a great husband. He's such a great husband that she wants him back. Something, I'm just talking about the top of my head, folks, but as well as I do, there's a whole lot of reasons why someone would beg or want to keep a marriage together. It's the children, it's the family, it's the covenant, it's all of these things. But to hear this account that Joni Lamb would be aware that there was the wife that Doug Wise divorced, he initiated that. Look up the records. I believe what you're going to find, I'm like 1,000% sure that you're going to find, is that was initiated by Doug, not Lisa, and she's wanting to hold on to the marriage. She's wanting to save it. She's begging to have him back. And you have Joni Lamb using that as something to crow about, something to be excited about. And so, he's going to make me a good, it's just beyond the pale. And I'm going to ask the question that I asked, just the rephrase of a rephrase. Why shouldn't Joni Lamb resign? Give me a reason why she should remain in that position.
Because, this life is like a vapor. It doesn't matter who you love, who you're loyal to. God is above all. And I don't know Lisa. I have no reason to risk it all for what she's asking. But I know my God. I know his heart.
Mm-hmm.
I put myself in other people's shoes. If this was me and I was married to Jonathan, 30-something years, raised our children, and he finds someone else, and I'm begging him, please stay. And if other women would have just be like, oh no, this is God's miracle for you. They're not serving my God. I thought all women would rally around a faithful wife of 30-something years. So it was a very, very painful, breaking process. Yeah.
This is like heartbreaking. This is like heartbreaking to watch. But folks, that's what went on. And I just want to keep the program moving, but I'm going to ask the question, why shouldn't Joni Lamb resign? Now I'm going to give 3 reasons why, in my personal opinion, entertainment opinion, no, it's not an alleged opinion because of my opinion. Okay. I don't see how she could do anything else. Now, by the way, I'm not so sure the whole thing needs to survive. I'm just not. If it does, it needs to be way different. But I'm ahead of myself. I want to play this next clip, and then I'm going to really encourage. In fact, while this is playing, I'm going to post in the comments the clip to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson's interview. And yeah, it takes 2 hours, and you're going to want to do it. Just trust me. You're going to want to do this. And here's the timeline. Here we go.
And when we look at the whole timeline, it does, Julie Royce has released the receipts for the honeymoon. And, your father, if we could just give everyone a timeline, because it gets a bit complex, but your father died November 30th, 2021.
Correct.
By June of 2022, your mom says that she, was enjoying, hearing from Doug, and she also shared that with me when I was on set, that she began to realize she just enjoyed the talks, the calls. It wasn't a dating thing, but it was warm, and they were talking, and she enjoyed that. But by July, Doug is asking Miss Denise to please, in July, he's saying, I love my wife, and, would you speak with her? Asking Miss Denise, would you speak with my wife? And I think, I do think there's hope. By August, Lisa has come in to Miss Denise, and they've had their 3 days, as stated in this letter here. And then by what we see on the receipts for purchasing the down payment of the honeymoon, that's by October, I believe. The first receipt, the down payment for the honeymoon is October. So things have progressed. So we got, July, August, September, we're engaged, or we're thinking about getting married by October, but we don't announce our engagement until December 31st or New Year's,
Yeah, actually, Miss Laura, that was actually something that I didn't even calculate until I don't know if it was you or somebody else, till yesterday, that my mom put the down payment for the honeymoon 2 months before she was even engaged. So, that just shows you how quickly she was working towards this marriage, that she had already decided to plan her honeymoon before the engagement.
She put the deposit down on the honeymoon 2 or 3 months before she was even engaged. And that was in October. And from the earlier clip, I believe that Suzy was talking about, if you go through that interview, this I'm positive of. My memory is not 1,000%. It's only 998. But as late as August of 2022, Lisa was remonstrating with Doug, save the marriage, come back, let's keep this together. And yet, only a couple months later, maybe right after she got through bragging to Suzy that, he's going to be a great husband, Joni Lamb is putting the deposit on the $100,000 honeymoon, and they haven't even announced the engagement yet. They hadn't even announced the engagement yet. And, I'm sort of kind of trying to build a case. My opinion is, of course, she has to resign. Let me just get into this right now. How can you allow someone to be the head, the CEO of a religious organization that misappropriates funds on a massive scale? I'm not talking about overspending your spending allowance to take people out to lunch. This is $100,000 honeymoon that she so arrogantly put a deposit on even before the engagement was announced, and expected, as Pastor Ray would say, Meemaw with their Social Security check and Pawpaw with his disability check to pay for. That is financial malfeasance. I don't see it any other way. What other Christian organization can the person at the top of a nonprofit just decide that they're going to spend $100,000 on themselves. And then, in my opinion, my alleged entertainment opinion, post a video with the ladies of the View. Oh, I'm sorry, Table View. Just a few days ago and say, not a penny. And then the day after, Julie Roys releases the audio that shows, and with the article rather, that shows the receipts that Jonathan had because of his position there at Daystar, that absolutely it was charged to Daystar. And whether somebody is reimbursed, or they made this argument that, oh, well, that was with points because the credit card had accumulated enough points. Well, if the credit card accumulated enough points, those points belong to the nonprofit. But see, think about it. Since Joni Lamb has been at the helm, she has decided that that it's okay for her to jump on a private jet and fly 9 or 10 times around, dating Doug Wise at whose expense? The ministry's expense, Meemaw's expense, Pawpaw's expense. It's financial malfeasance. And then turn around and bill $100,000 to the church. And let's just talk about that for a minute. And when Pete and Barry come on, and I believe it's going to be Thursday of this week, we can talk about this more in depth. But Daystar, even though evidently Marcus and Joni attended Gateway Church, where Robert Morris, who Joni had dirt on, but didn't tell anybody she had dirt on him. But anyway, they attend. And why would you? Oh, I never thought of that one, folks. Sorry, I interrupted myself, and I'm allowed to interrupt myself because who else is better qualified to interrupt me than me? But in the last program that we did, we went over video where Suzy is once again talking about them meeting with Robert Morris of Gateway Church. And what they're really concerned about is this thing that my mom is about to do with Doug Wise, is it scriptural or not? And all that, well, not all, but a major concern of Robert Morris, weaving in amongst the real subject matter, is, hey, man, I'd be really interested in getting more airtime on Daystar, And then when that comes up later, Joni Lamb says to Suzy Lamb, she says, oh, don't worry. There's a lady in Oklahoma that's got some dirt on him, and he's going down. Robert Morris is going down. So Joni Lamb, this is what never occurred to me, because we talked about it on the program. Joni Lamb is perfectly fine with having Robert Morris on her network, who she knew there were credible allegations, and basically knew that he was a pedophile, that he had molested this 12-year-old girl. She knew that, and she was okay with him being on her program. But newsflash, that's where they went to church. Is my voice high enough yet? I don't think it can get any higher than that. That is where Marcus and Joni Lamb attended church. Is the church where they know the guy on the platform molested a 12-year-old girl, and it went on for years, and they know that, and you still attend that church? Whoo, folks, we have so many people on. I love to. I see a lot of regulars. I really, really appreciate it. I want to get back to this timeline. This is just. Well, no, I guess I played it. Let me see what I got else in the queue, and I want to ask that final question that I had. And this is a good one to do it, folks. Please like, please share, and I am sincere. If you got $5, if you got $10, if you could please find Pastor Ray. If he's supposed to go to Texas, then there needs to be the funds there to get him to Texas. I don't know why he wants to go. I have maybe some hunches, some opinions, but I'm sincerely asking. I'm sincerely asking you to find Pastor Ray on the unction. God's using him in a pretty powerful way on this story. And before I play this last clip, I just want to say, for everybody, all the familiar faces, what about your corroboration with Robin and WHC and RP? Let me just assure you, the worst has not been heard yet, not by a long shot, unfortunately. So that story's not going anywhere. I'm going to play this clip, and then we're going to set up the end here. Thank you so much for your patience, but I want to play this and keep going here.
Well, today we are exposing the characteristics of the Jezebel spirit and learning how to recognize the signs that someone is operating in that spirit. We've talked about several of them. Kendra, you wanted to ask specifically about.
I am going to address a comment here just for a second. Where'd it go? I think somebody thinks they're being pretty clever. They say, oh, so by saying she resigned, it's a way to get us to click on here. That is not what I did. That's not what I said. And if you caught the beginning of the program, I stated it very clearly. It is a question. It is a question. So nice try, but that is a question. However, since you asked the question, let me clarify it for you. Not yet. And the reason, the real question is why not? Because it's going to, in my opinion, it needs to happen. In fact, folks, let's do this right now. If you believe that Joni Lamb should resign, should be removed from that position, please type yes in the comments. If you believe that she absolutely should stay, please type no. How's that? How is that? And we'll keep going.
About this one.
I did. I wanted to ask about the characteristic when their words are the only words that matter.
Their words.
Their words,
right.
no one else's.
Right. In essence, my word has become the
Got a
equivalent
few
of
yeses.
God. Therefore, it's equal to Scripture. And so that's in essence what they're saying. They may not want to admit that, but that's in essence the position that they're taking. So no matter what other prophetic person speaks, I've heard from God. They have not. No matter what other pastoral voice has input, I've heard from God. You haven't. You're not as spiritual as I am.
Yeah.
I am at the peak of spirituality. You need to listen to
No
what God says to me.
accountability.
No
None.
accountability, because the only person I can be accountable to is God.
Well, from the audio that we've all clearly heard, if you've been following this story, she agreed with Jimmy Evans that she's the voice of God at Daystar. But then, and it could get real complicated. It could get real, well, no, she doesn't think she's the only voice. Oh, yeah, she's accountable to the board, except when one of the board members is her son. It doesn't make any sense. Folks, she set herself up to be the very thing that she talked about in that video from years ago. That's exactly what she's become. Exactly what she's become. And so I'm seeing a whole lot of yeses in the comments. And so I'm going to just answer two questions. And this is my answer. The second question I haven't asked yet. And I do want to get down and eat a street taco. So the good news is I got to get rolling. Okay, please like, please share, please subscribe. However, I'm going to ask this question. Why shouldn't Joni Lamb resign? Here's a few reasons why she should. Financial malfeasance. I'm sorry, but if you're head of a nonprofit, where in the world, you talk about having somebody by the BALL, you can finish that. She must think she's got her whole donor base by that. Because if I want to just charge $100K for my honeymoon to anybody, but to just charge that and Meemaw and Pawpaw got to pay for it, that's malfeasance. And when you want to just hop on with tax-free money on a private jet at donor expense, at Meemaw's expense and Pawpaw's expense, taking half of their social security and disability, and you want to use that to pay for your romantic weekend getaways, that's malfeasance. Why is that okay? The answer is it's not. Here's another reason I think she needs to resign. I won't even touch the validity of that marriage. I think people are weighing in on that. That should have never, ever happened. I'm just looking at it kind of like at a business sense. And then here's another one. The covering up of SA with a minor. Just stop for a minute and just think it through. There had not been a thorough investigation. There had not been cooperation with authorities and cooperation with that forensic psychologist. There had not been follow through, but Jonathan Lamb himself on the clip that I played just moments ago admitted that his father lied to him. How painful it would be to have to admit that. But that also means that Miss Joni was part of that lie. And by logical extension, does it not mean that Miss Joni covered up as well? If there's I've had people weigh in with comments when we've seen, and people have mentioned their professional credentials. They work in a school, or they're a psychologist or other settings, and they say, hey, this is one of those areas where we do not have a choice. We are mandated. I think one comment said we are a mandate state. And yet somehow Joni seems to think that she's above that. And I'll just give really the third reason. And there's a lot more in my opinion, but well, the surveillance, the harassment, the tracking. But here's the third. Let me just land on this as a third reason. Loss of revenue. Has Daystar lost revenue? Well, just wait. Just wait. But those three things are enough right there. Those three things are enough right there. Financial malfeasance, covering up of SA, and loss of revenue, loss of reputation, loss of status. What other CEO would have all that on their resume, would have that as their accomplishments, and they'd stay in that position? I'm being clear. I'm not sure we need that place anyway. But and no disrespect to Jonathan and Suzy, but I'll tell you what, if it did continue, see, now I'm just talking, but it did continue. It's obvious. You could put some real ministry on there, and you could even lower your prices. I know you could. You could put some real ministry on there. It could be a complete rework, and of course, the entire board needs to be ditched, and there needs to be a real board. That's not a real board. That's a couple of yes people, and so I'm ahead of myself. So I'm going to get to here's the last thing I want to touch on. If I look at comments, y'all, if I look at, and this is my third one. This is my second question, the question that no one wants to ask. Did I do this? Okay. And here's what it is, folks. This takes just there's a little bit of nuance on this, but not a whole lot. It's not hard to grab. What would be going on at Daystar if this had not come out? Now, this Jonathan and Suzy Lamb standing for truth and standing up against this corruption and standing up against this covering up, and all of the big name preachers that have called and honor cultured Suzy and told her to get in line and told her that she's throwing away her future. And by the way, forgive me for interrupting myself, but who better to interrupt myself than me? In the course of that interview, you find out that when Marcus Lamb passed away, he didn't leave his kids anything. He didn't leave them nothing, unless Joni hid the will. But I'm sorry, when you're worth millions and millions, and you've got all these other financial affairs in a row, and you're the head of $1 billion network, and you pass away, and you don't leave a red cent to your kids, but the kid's mother has everything and expects them to be dutiful and to toe her line. And the main thing that she has, or one of the main things that she has, is the club of financial wherewithal and sustenance to be able to beat them over the head with it. That's just notable. It's really kind of shameful. It makes you wonder, what did Joni do with the will? Or was Marcus Lamb really that short-sighted that he did not leave his adult children in the will? It's just another thing. But that was a digression, but I'm coming back from the digression. The rabbit trail is over. Folks, this is evil. This is evil stuff that's happening. And yet, Jonathan and Suzy Lamb have resisted this, at least they have been a hindering force to this evil from the very beginning. But this is my question. What would be going on at Dayspring or Daystar right now or in the near future if it wasn't for the influence of Jonathan and Suzy? And I am going to read from Revelation 2. And not all of this directly applies now, but there is definitely a principle that does apply. This is the church at Thyatira. I know your deeds, your love, your faith, your service, your perseverance, and your latest deeds are greater than your first. But I have this against you. You tolerate, you put up with, you're compliant with that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess. By her teaching, she misleads my servants and to be sexual immoral and to eat food sacrificed to idols. Even though I've given her time to repent of her immorality, she is unwilling. Now it goes on to tell some of the things that are about to happen there in Thyatira, but I want to jump down to verse 24. I say to the rest of you in Thyatira, who do not hold to her teaching and have not learned the so-called deep things of Satan, I will place no further burden upon you. And so I'm going to ask the question one more time. What would be going on? Folks, this is a spirit. This is a spirit. And somebody got angry at me because I compared things going on at Daystar to things going on at TBN. Must be in turf protection mode. Folks, there is so much, and I'm going to say this non-hyperbolic. I'm not saying this for effect. There is so much demonic activity. There is such a demonic stronghold over Christian media. I didn't say all. I didn't say everywhere. I'm saying much of. And you'd say, Everett, why would you say that? From talking to people who've worked in Christian media, from talking to people who have been on staff with some of these really big ministries and these really, really big TV operations, multiple people, and the things that go on. Won't rehash all of that. But it makes you wonder if the restraining factor of Jonathan and Suzy had not been there for these 2 or 3 years, while what we've seen has gone on, the lavish spending, the misappropriation, the stealing from Mimo and Pawpaw, the normalization of certain things morally, what would be going on? And with that, I'll bring it to a close. If you believe, if you haven't weighed in, if you think that Joni Lamb needs to resign or be removed, type yes. If you think, no, absolutely, she needs to stay. Oh, she's the queen. Go ahead and type no. Folks, I'm going to reiterate it one more time. It's just something that I feel. If the Lord places it on your heart, find Pastor Ray, help him get to Texas or whatever he's got to do. I would really appreciate it. So until next time, and be looking for us, please. Be looking for us. God willing, the Lord willing, we're going to have Pete and Barry on the program this Thursday night at 7. There'll probably be some bombshell news stuff, but mostly we're just going to find out how a lot of this creepy stuff works in the financial realm. It's going to be very informative. Thank you for joining me. There's a lot of people on here. I don't want to think about it. It's a little bit scary. Please like, please share, please hit the notification bell. And until next time, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the state of Ohio. And Lord, clean up and make holy your church here in America. Good night, y'all.